In this video, we're diving into the biggest mistake a sailor over 60 can make when sailing around the world and why it could put your entire journey at risk. For sailors in their golden years, experience is everything. But there's one crucial misstep that could turn your dream voyage into a nightmare. These risks often go unnoticed, but they're essential to understand if you're planning a global adventure on the open seas. Whether you've been sailing for decades or just recently took up the sport, the right precautions can mean the difference between a successful trip and a perilous one. We'll walk you through the most common, yet avoidable, mistake that can jeopardize your safety and your entire journey around the world. We'll also explore how to navigate through the challenges that come with age and experience, ensuring that you're always prepared, no matter what the sea throws your way. Imagine the peace of mind knowing exactly what to avoid on your world voyage. Stick with us as we uncover not just what the biggest mistake is, but how you can sidestep it and sail safely into your adventure. Stay tuned until the end for expert advice, tips, and insights, because when you're out there on the open ocean, one wrong move can make all the difference. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on more essential content to help you sail smarter and safer. Let's set sail now. The silent culprit. Beneath the waves, the ocean is a master of deception. Beneath its shimmering surface lies a realm of relentless forces, where even the smallest oversight can unravel a voyage. For sailors, the greatest adversary isn't always the storm they see coming, it's the hidden fragility of their own vessel. Equipment failure, often born from neglect, is the silent killer of offshore sailing. This chapter plunges into the depths of why maintenance is not just a chore, but a lifeline. Picture this. A sailor stands on the deck of a 40-foot sloop, 300 miles offshore. The wind hums through the rigging, the hull slicing through waves like a blade. Suddenly, a metallic snap pierces the air. The forestay, the cable holding the mast aloft, snaps, sending the spar crashing into the sea. This nightmare unfolded for the crew of SV Horizon's Edge in 2018. Their mast failed not because of the storm, but because of a tiny crack in a stainless steel fitting hidden under layers of salt and complacency. Corrosion, metal fatigue, and UV degradation are the ocean's stealth weapons. History echoes this lesson. The 1979 Fastnet race disaster saw 19 sailors perish as gales battered the fleet. Post-mortem analyses revealed that many yachts had rigging weakened by deferred maintenance. A report by the Marine Accident Investigation Branch concluded that 70% of structural failures could have been prevented with proper care. Even modern materials aren't immune. Carbon fiber masts, prized for their strength, can delaminate invisibly. A veteran sailor once recounted how a tap test, a simple coin knock, revealed a hidden void in his mast moments before a transatlantic race. Had he skipped that test, catastrophe would have followed. Sailors today navigate a paradox. Cutting-edge technology demands ancient vigilance. Dyneema rigging resists corrosion, but requires obsessive care to prevent chafing. Traditional bronze fittings withstand salt water, but seas without lubrication. A poignant example comes from 2021 near the Azores, where a corroded fuel filter left a yacht dead in the water. The crew's backup, a handheld VHF radio, had fading batteries. Their mistake wasn't just technical. It was a failure to respect the duality of old and new. Maintenance is as much a battle against human nature as it is against the elements. Picture a skipper eyeing a rusty gooseneck fitting. "It'll hold for this trip," they mutter, prioritizing. Departure over diligence. Days later, the mainsail tears free in a squall. A 2023 survey revealed that 42% of sailors admit to skipping checks due to time constraints, with 17% blaming past emergencies on these shortcuts. Overconfidence in battle-tested gear is another trap. High-end racing yachts, built for speed, often suffer accelerated wear. One sailor learned this during a solo Pacific crossing when a hydraulic ram failed, a part he deemed indestructible. Prevention is a blend of ritual and rigor. Take Dee Kafari, the first woman to sail solo nonstop around the world. Her secret? A pre-voyage checklist honed over decades. Annual rigging inspections use dye penetrant or ultrasound to detect cracks. UV-damaged sun covers on roller furling headsails are replaced, not patched. Redundancy is sacred. Dual GPS units, manual bilge pumps, and a sextant stowed in a waterproof case. Training transforms crews. During a Pacific crossing, a rookie noticed a clogged fuel line, a skill learned in a drill, and averted disaster. Equipment failure isn't just about broken parts. It's about shattered dreams. In 2015, a Golden Globe race contender abandoned ship after a preventable keelbolt failure. Yet triumphs exist too. In 2020, SV Resilience survived a Cape Horn storm because its skipper had replaced every shroud weeks earlier. As the sun sets, a well-maintained vessel becomes more than a boat. It's a covenant with the sea, but even the best gear can't outwit the next threat, the weather. When the sky betrays you, decoding the fury of weather systems, the ocean's surface mirrors the sky, a vast, unreadable expanse that can shift from serene to savage in minutes. For sailors, the weather is both ally and adversary, a force that demands respect, intuition, and relentless vigilance. To ignore its signs is to court disaster. This chapter navigates the turbulent intersection of human judgment and atmospheric chaos, where a single misread squall can erase months of preparation. Off the coast of Cape Horn in 2019, a seasoned sailor named Lars faced a choice: alter course to avoid an approaching storm or hold steady to meet a race deadline. The weather facts showed a sprawling low-pressure system, but the forecast hinted at a narrow window of safe passage. He chose the latter. By dawn, his yacht Southern Cross was battered by 50-knot winds and 30-foot waves. The storm's intensity had been underestimated, a mistake that nearly cost his crew their lives. Weather systems are the ocean's wild card. They defy linear prediction, morphing through interactions between pressure gradients, sea temperatures, and upper atmosphere winds. Even modern tools like GRIB files and satellite imagery can't fully capture their complexity. In 1998, the Sydney-Hobart race tragedy underscored this reality. A routine storm intensified unexpectedly, killing 6 sailors. Investigators later noted that skippers had relied on incomplete meteorological data, misjudging the storm's speed and ferocity. The human element compounds the risk. Overconfidence in technology is a recurring flaw. A 2022 incident involving a solo circumnavigator illustrates this peril. Trusting an outdated weather routing app, the sailor sailed directly into a tropical depression. His boat was dismasted, and he spent 18 hours in a life raft before rescue. "I thought the algorithm knew better," he admitted, a dangerous surrender of situational awareness. Yet, technology, when paired with traditional seamanship, becomes a potent ally. Consider the art of cloud reading. Nimbostratus clouds signal prolonged rain, while cirrus streaks hint at an approaching front. In the 1960s, sailors like Robin Knox Johnston relied on barometers and sky patterns to navigate the globe. Today's sailors blend these skills with real-time data. During the 2023 Vendée Globe, a skipper avoided a hurricane by combining onboard radar with observations of sudden wind shifts and falling pressure, a fusion of old and new. The consequences of weather complacency are etched into maritime history. The 1979 Fastnet disaster, explored in Chapter 1, was exacerbated by skippers underestimating storm dynamics. Similarly, the 2014 loss of the Cheeky Rafiki, a British yacht returning from Antigua, was partly attributed to a delayed storm avoidance decision. The crew's lack of heavy weather training proved fatal when their hull flooded in mountainous seas. Preparation is the antidote. Experts advocate a three-tiered approach. Continuous monitoring. Use multiple data sources, VHF, weather channels, onboard barometers, and visual cues, e.g. swell direction. Scenario planning. Regularly simulate what-if situations, e.g. sudden wind shifts, lightning strikes. Heavy weather drills. Practice heaving to, deploying drogues, and reefing sails in controlled conditions. A striking example comes from the 2020 Golden Globe race. Sailor Jean-Luc Van den Heide, despite relying on 19th century navigation tools, avoided a cyclone by interpreting cloud formations and wave patterns. His success highlighted that technology is a supplement, not a replacement, for observational skill. The psychological toll of weather decisions is equally critical. Stress clouds judgment, leading to tunnel vision. A study of offshore emergencies found that 62% of captains who encountered storms had fixated on a single solution, e.g., maintaining speed, rather than adapting to evolving conditions. Fatigue exacerbates this. Sleep-deprived sailors misinterpret data or delay critical actions. Yet, the sea also rewards humility. In 2021, a novice crew aboard SV Peregrine survived a force 10 gale in the North Atlantic by adhering to a simple mantra: when in doubt, reef it out. They reduced sail early, secured loose gear, and hove to, riding out the storm with minimal damage. The sky's betrayal is inevitable, but not insurmountable. Weather is a language, and survival hinges on fluency. As the saying goes, the best sailors aren't those who conquer the storm, but those who read its whispers. The calculus of risk? Why overconfidence sinks. More ships than storms. The ocean does not forgive arrogance. It humbles even the boldest with indifferent precision, yet sailors often sail into its embrace armed with little more than hubris. Overconfidence, the belief that skill, experience, or technology can outwit the sea, is the deadliest miscalculation a sailor can make. This chapter explores how the human psyche, when untethered from humility, turns calculated risks into reckless gambles. In 1980, the Sunday Times Golden Globe race became a cautionary tale of overconfidence. Donald Crowhurst, a novice sailor, set off in a hastily modified trimaran, convinced his ingenuity could compensate for his lack of experience. He falsified logs to appear ahead, but reality soon caught up. His vessel, overwhelmed by the southern ocean, vanished, along with his sanity. Crowhurst's story epitomizes the peril of overestimating one's limits. Modern sailors are not immune. In 2017, the Volvo Ocean Race saw a crew ignore safety protocols to shave minutes off their route. Their boat, Vestas 11th Hour Racing, collided with a fishing vessel at night, killing a crew member. The root cause? A culture of go fast at all costs, where caution was deemed weakness. Overconfidence thrives in the gap between perception and reality. A 2022 study of offshore sailors found that 53% rated their skills as expert, yet only 27% could correctly interpret a barometric pressure trend or execute a man overboard drill in rough seas. This cognitive dissonance is lethal. The illusion of control technology fuels overconfidence. GPS, autopilots, and weather routing apps create an illusion of mastery. The screen says it's safe, a sailor might think, ignoring the storm building on the horizon. In 2019, the crew of SV Infinity relied solely on an app to navigate the Caribbean during hurricane season. When their engine flooded and GPS failed, they were adrift for 48 hours, unprepared to navigate by stars or sextant. Even experience can be a trap. A seasoned captain once remarked, "I've sailed 20 years without incident. I know these waters." Months later, his boat struck a reef he'd never heard of because he'd skipped updating his charts. The reef was newly charted, a detail humility would have compelled him to verify. The psychology of risk overconfidence is rooted in cognitive biases. The Dunning-Kruger effect, wherein the unskilled overestimate their competence, plagues sailors. A novice might dismiss the need for storm sails, believing their strong mainsail can handle anything. Conversely, confirmation bias leads sailors to seek information that validates their plans. A skipper determined to reach a destination might fixate on a single favorable weather report while ignoring contradictory data. Stress amplifies these flaws. Under pressure, decision-making becomes reactive. During the 2014 Cheeky Rafiki tragedy, the crew ignored Coast Guard advice to divert to the nearest port, opting instead to risk a 1,500-mile return voyage. Fatigue and goal fixation clouded their judgment, with fatal consequences. Mitigating the ego survival at sea demands a paradoxical blend of confidence and humility. Captain Susie Goodall, a two-time Vendée Globe racer, attributes her success to a mantra: respect the sea, but never trust it. Her boat carries redundant systems, and she rehearses emergencies religiously. Strategies to counter overconfidence include pre-voyage, pre-mortems. Imagine the voyage failed spectacularly. What went wrong? This exercise exposes hidden risks. Crew debriefs. Encourage junior crew to voice concerns. A fresh pair of eyes often spots overlooked dangers. Embracing redundancy. Carry spare sails, extra rudder pins, and analog backups. As navigator Stan Honey says, 2 GPS units are good. A sextant is better. The sea rewards those who balance ambition with humility. In 2021, a solo sailor in the Pacific faced a dilemma: push through a storm to break a speed record or heave to and wait. He chose the latter, losing the record but saving his boat. "The ocean doesn't care about your goals," he later wrote. "It only respects those who respect it." As we sail onward, the next chapter confronts another insidious threat. One that lurks not in the waves or the sky, but in the mind itself. The invisible current, how isolation and stress drown. Rational thought, the ocean is a mirror. It reflects not just the sky above, but the mind's fragility below. For sailors adrift in endless blue, the greatest storm often brews within. Isolation and stress warp perception, turning rational decisions into irrational gambles. This chapter peers into the abyss of the sailor's psyche, where the weight of solitude and fatigue can sink a voyage long before the hull takes on water. In 2006, a solo sailor named Henry drifted 800 miles off the coast of Brazil, convinced he was being followed by a phantom ship. Sleep-deprived and hallucinating, he nearly abandoned his yacht to escape an enemy that existed only in his mind. His logbook, scribbled in jagged handwriting, read, "They're closing in, must cut the anchor line." By the time a passing freighter rescued him, he'd severed his own lifeline, a rope tethering him to reality. This is the invisible current, the erosion of mental resilience in the cauldron of offshore sailing. Studies show that prolonged isolation triggers a cascade of neurological changes. Cortisol floods the system, impairing judgment. The prefrontal cortex, the brain's decision-making center, slows, while the amygdala, responsible for fear, goes into overdrive. A 2019 experiment simulating solo sailing conditions found that 72 hours of sleep deprivation led to a 40% decline in problem-solving ability. The anatomy of a fractured mind stress isn't just a feeling, it's a physiological force. In 2018, during the Volvo Ocean Race, a crew member aboard Team AkzoNobel misread a critical sail change. Fatigued by weeks of 2-hour sleep shifts, he miscalculated wind angles, causing a torn spinnaker. The mistake cost them the leg. Post-race debriefs revealed the culprit. Chronic stress had narrowed his focus. blinding him to risks. Isolation amplifies this. Social bonds dissolve, days blur into nights. A sailor's inner monologue turns toxic. One veteran described it as being trapped in a steel box with your worst critic. In 1994, solo racer Nigel Burgess succumbed to this pressure, recording a final log entry. "I can't tell where the sea ends, and I begin." His boat was found drifting, its captain gone. The science of breaking points. The brain craves predictability. At sea, it finds none. Unpredictable stressors, equipment alarms, sudden squalls, the drip of a leaking hatch keep the nervous system in perpetual fight-or-flight mode. A landmark study of offshore sailors found that 68% experienced symptoms of depression, while 43% admitted to making impulsive decisions they later couldn't explain. Sleep deprivation accelerates the decline. Without REM cycles, the brain struggles to consolidate memories or regulate emotions. In 1982, Stephen Callahan survived 76 days adrift in the Atlantic. His journal chronicled his unraveling. Day 42 argued with a seagull today. It blinked first. Surviving the invisible, storm-mitigating mental erosion requires deliberate tactics. Techniques include structured routine. Hourly checklists anchor the mind. Tasks like tenancy grounding, inspect rigging, 11 hours, hydrate, combat, time distortion. Mindfulness practices. Sailors like Dee Kafari use breathwork to reset focus during storms. 3 deep breaths before every decision, she advises. Crew communication protocols. In team races, mandatory check-ins ensure no one slips unnoticed into isolation. Technology also plays a role. Wearables monitoring heart rate. Variability, HRV, can signal rising stress levels. A 2023 trial aboard SV Resilience used HRV data to adjust watch schedules, reducing fatigue-related errors by 30%. The sea rewards those who acknowledge their vulnerability. In 2020, during a solo transatlantic attempt, sailor Pip Hare faced a dilemma: press on through a storm to beat a record or heave to and rest. She chose the latter, writing, "My mind was a compass spinning out of control. Sleep was the only fix." As the horizon stretches onward, the final chapter confronts the ultimate test, when the sea demands not just skill, but surrender. The edge of surrender. When to fight, when to let go, the ocean does not negotiate. It offers no medals for stubbornness, no glory for clinging to a sinking hull. Yet, in the crucible of crisis, sailors face the ultimate test: to fight or to surrender. This chapter confronts the razor's edge between courage and folly, where the wrong choice becomes an epitaph. In 1998, the crew of SV Fantôme faced this choice as Hurricane Mitch churned the Caribbean into a maelstrom. The captain, a charismatic leader with decades of experience, dismissed repeated warnings to seek shelter. "This ship has weathered worse," he insisted. When the storm hit, the vessel capsized, killing all 31 aboard. The tragedy became a symbol of the cost of defiance, a refusal to yield even when the sea roared enough. Surrender at sea is not defeat, it's survival. But recognizing the line between tenacity and recklessness requires a clarity often drowned out by adrenaline or pride. In 2015, the cargo ship El Faro sank near the Bahamas after its captain steered directly into Hurricane Joaquin. The black box recording captured the crew's growing dread as the captain dismissed evacuation orders. "We're going through it," he said, moments before the ship vanished. The anatomy of surrender? The decision to abandon ship or alter course hinges on a brutal calculus. Take the 2019 rescue of SV Tiama. Struck by a rogue wave in the Southern Ocean, the crew fought for hours to save their dismasted yacht. But as hypothermia set in and the hull began flooding, the skipper made the call: activate the EPIRB and abandon to life rafts. Their training overrode panic. A drill practiced weekly saved their lives. Conversely, the 2014 Cheeky Rafiki disaster, explored in Chapter 3, revealed the cost of delayed surrender. The crew, battling a flooded hull, hesitated to send a distress signal, trusting makeshift repairs. By the time they activated the beacon, it was too late. The psychology of letting go surrender demands a paradoxical strength. It requires admitting vulnerability, a feat harder than any physical challenge. A study of maritime disasters found that captains who successfully evacuated crews shared a trait situational humility. They acknowledged when the odds tipped irrevocably against them. Consider the 2021 rescue of solo sailor Kevin Escoffier. When his Imo CA-60 broke apart in the Southern Ocean, he had minutes to grab survival gear before the cabin submerged. His immediate activation of the emergency beacon, coupled with a Mayday call, contrasted sharply with the El Faro's fatal hesitation. "The sea doesn't care about your pride," Escoffier later said. "It only respects those who respect their limits." Frameworks for survival experts advocate structured decision-making tools to counteract panic. The 1 to 10 100 rule. Ask, will this decision matter in 1 hour, 10 hours, 100 hours? If the answer is no at any stage, act. The 2 question. Test, is this risk reversible? And what's the worst-case scenario? If the latter is unacceptable, retreat. Pre-voyage surrender protocols. Define clear triggers for abandonment, e.g., hull breach, uncontrolled flooding, and rehearse them. Technology aids this process. Modern APIRBs and PLBs, personal. Locator beacons provide near-instant rescue coordination. In 2023, a crew adrift in the Pacific activated a PLB after their rudder failed. Rescuers reached them in 12 hours, a feat unthinkable decades ago. The final lesson, surrender as mastery. The greatest sailors are not those who never retreat, but those who recognize when the battle is lost. In 1982, solo racer Philippe Jantot abandoned his Vendée Globe campaign after a rogue wave crippled his boat. His decision, though heartbreaking, preserved his life and his legacy. Years later, he designed a yacht that revolutionized offshore safety. The sea's final lesson is this: survival lies not in conquering the waves, but in knowing when to yield to them. As the crew of SV Resilience wrote in their 2020 log, "We didn't lose the race when we turned back. We lost it the moment we thought we couldn't. The horizon stretches eternal, but every voyage ends. For those who sail, the true victory is returning to tell the tale." The sea is a teacher of brutal honesty. It strips away illusions, exposing the fragile line between control and chaos. Across these chapters, we've navigated storms of equipment failure, weather's fury, overconfidence, mental unraveling, and the agonizing choice to surrender. Each lesson circles back to a single truth. The sea rewards those who prepare not just with tools, but with humility. The tapestry of survival at sea is a tapestry woven from countless threads: maintenance rituals, weather wisdom, psychological, resilience, and the courage to yield. The sailor who inspects a rusty chain plate today averts the disaster of tomorrow. The skipper who heeds the barometer's whisper spares the crew the scream of a storm. The captain who admits, "I don't know," preserves lives otherwise lost to arrogance. Consider the 2020 rescue of SV Ocean Star. Struck by a whale, the hull breached, and the crew faced a choice: fight to save the sinking ship or abandon to life rafts. Their weekly drills eliminated hesitation. Within minutes, they activated the EPIRB, secured the grab bag, and stepped into the rafts, a seamless dance of preparedness. The sea swallowed their boat, but not their lives. The cost of forgetting history's shipwrecks are tombstones of forgotten lessons. The Fantôme, El Faro, and Cheeky Rafiki share a common epitaph. They thought they had time. Time to fix the rigging. Time to outrun the storm. Time to dismiss the warning signs. yet the sea operates on its own clock. In 2013, the Nina, a wooden schooner, vanished in the Tasman Sea. The crew had ignored forecasts of gale-force winds, trusting the vessel's classic construction. Their last message: worst weather I've ever seen. They were never found. Preparedness as philosophy. True, preparedness transcends checklists. It is a mindset, a recognition that the ocean, in its indifference, mirrors our own vulnerabilities. The sailor who packs a sextant alongside GPS does not distrust technology. They respect the reality of system failure. The captain who practices heaving to in calm seas knows storms are won in moments of calm. This philosophy extends beyond gear. Mental preparedness, acknowledging fear, embracing redundancy, and rehearsing surrender, builds a crew's resilience. As solo sailor Lisa Blair stated after surviving a dismasting in the Southern Ocean, preparedness isn't about avoiding disaster, it's about knowing how to dance with it. The unwritten rule of the sea. The sea's ultimate lesson is humility. It reminds us that mastery is an illusion. The moment we claim dominance, the ocean rises to correct us. In 2019, veteran sailor Rich Wilson, twice winner of the Vendée Globe, capsized in a benign squall. His log entry afterward read, "I forgot Rule 1, the sea is always in charge." Yet humility is not passive, it is active reverence, a commitment to learn, adapt, and respect limits. The crew of SV Resilience, adrift for days after a lightning, strike-fried their electronics, survived because they'd memorized celestial navigation. "We didn't conquer the storm," they wrote. "We bowed to it, and it let us pass." The sailor's covenant. Every voyage begins with a covenant. The sailor pledges to respect the sea's power, and the sea, in turn, offers a chance to return. This covenant is sealed not in bravado, but in quiet acts, greasing a winch, checking the bilge pump, or simply saying, "We should turn back." As this journey through risk and resilience closes, remember, the greatest sailors are not those who outrun storms, but those who read the signs, tend to their vessels, and know when to let go. The sea's truth is unyielding, but within that truth lies freedom, the freedom to venture beyond the horizon, prepared to meet whatever awaits.